Good morning and happy Friday to you. My name is Jared, and this is hey.
Sorry. Somebody tagged me on Instagram.
I did, but
yeah.
Feeling distracted this morning.
Well, social media.
Okay, youngster, let me tell you a story about.
I'm gonna get lectured.
Social media. Yes, today, and this is the. Oh man, that hurt. Today's episode of the 5 Diamond Group. Let me try that again. You got me distracted. Welcome. This is the Uraine Ordonez 5 Diamond Group podcast. It is Friday, and today's subject we're talking about social media amidst the pandemic. Really, how has it grown in use, as well as its influences, positive and negative, because it can go both ways. It was created as something fun and easy, but let's figure out how it has hurt negatively on some fronts, and more importantly, how we can fix that, man. Mm-hmm. So what was your first social media account that you had, man?
MySpace.
Your what?
MySpace.
See, I never even got there.
Yeah.
I didn't even get to that point.
Well, yeah, because... Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Well, bring. I wasn't a teenager in the early 2000s. Okay.
Let me check that Instagram again.
Instagram. Oh, man.
MySpace was top 5. Then you could customize the website. I in middle school, I want to say 7th or 8th grade, we designed our school's website with HTML.
Okay.
And so. My first experience with the Mac was that. Hated it. Now, look at me, I'm all Apple, right? But anyways, so when we got MySpace, sometime in freshman or sophomore year, you could customize, your page. It was your mini website, and that was pretty cool. And so knowing a little bit of HTML, I was able to kind of go in there and really tweak the templates that you could download. And I can go in there and change a bunch of features, so that was kind of cool.
Being able to control your presentation to the world.
That's right.
They had, from what I remember on MySpace, widgets and segments or pages that you can publish your favorites list or your music playlist and stuff like that. Did you get that deep into that stuff?
I did, yeah.
Did you have your little background GIFs and stuff?
Yeah,
they didn't have GIFs.
No, it was a moving. Yeah, it was a moving image, and I guess it would be the early stages of GIFs. But yeah, I mean that was the thing to be on, Then Facebook came out, and see when I heard about Facebook, I felt like that was for older people, like yourself.
Except I don't know when you got it, man. 2007, 2008. That was right when it first started. I think I opened my account in 08 or 09 or something like that. Oh, wow. And I mean, it was for our generation in a way. Because it was people that were adults at the time. Connecting with everybody, which was cool, and it had lasted a few years on that front. But then I remember in 2012 or 13 the phrase saying, your grandma's on Facebook now. And she was. Actually, my grandma was on Facebook before that, but it was just it had this popularity that just grew across the the age brackets. And
so Facebook was founded in 2004. In 2011 is when they came out with the mobile app and all that stuff. So
2011?
Yeah, according to
mobile app?
The app launched in January 2011. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. No.
I was going to say, because I went around the world and I posted on Facebook.
Google's not being very...
Hashtag Apple issues.
No. This is Google. When you Google something. So I could have had that date, I guess, a little bit prepared. But anyways, so that was my first experience. I never got into Twitter. I have a Twitter account. Never really use it. Instagram has been probably the one where I was the most skeptical of.
And you use the most.
And now I use the most. I like Facebook, but I think Facebook is more for, in my opinion, is just to kind of keep up to date with family and friends and news. I get a lot of my news from there. I follow the news websites there.
I use Facebook for the first part that you say. Stay connected to people that I have worked with in the past or whatever. that I know in my social world. I definitely do not use it for news because it is the worst news source as far as providing accurate information because it's relevant to what you search. But
well, I follow like the local news, like Fox 5.
Right.
You know,
See, you're getting that from the sources.
Because that's what I'm trying to, stay up to date with, like traffic, what's going on in the city, events and all this stuff. So that's what I mean by news. As far as like national news,
that's a good clarification because a lot of people think, I get my news from Facebook, and if they're not getting it from reliable sources,
right? Yeah.
And don't even get down the fake hashtag thing of fake news. But the bottom line is that there are news journalists. For those of you who don't know, my first career was in broadcasting, so journalism is an element of that. And yes, you do have to have certain standards and ethics in order to do it.
But some don't.
And there are some that are simply a shock job, but it's more entertainment. Under the entertainment label, they consider themselves news under the entertainment. And in that world, you do have some news and entertainment that is legit, and a lot that are just for
TMZ, for examples.
That are for the flair.
What I'm thinking.
For the flair.
Yeah.
Ironically, they actually have a lot of serious journalism in there.
Well, but a lot of it's headlines, and so I'll click on things and it'll say like, whatever the headline is, and then you start reading the article, and I'm just like trying to get to the point,
right?
And it never gets to the point.
Yeah, it's just to get you to click on it.
Exactly, and so it's just clickbait. So that's one. But yeah, for the most part, I'm referring to local news. What's happening in Vegas. Traffic is very important because
quick updates is the best way to deliver it.
Yeah, we drive a lot, so I want to see if the 15's backed up because there was an accident. Maybe I need to take the 95 or whatever.
You can always look at Google Maps, but
Yeah, but sometimes even that's not that accurate because like if it just happens, sometimes the news reports it a little bit quicker.
Interesting. So news, I use Facebook to keep in touch with the family and kind of use it as the messenger because some people I just would prefer to chat through there instead of directly. So Facebook to connect with family, keep up to date with some of the events that are happening. What's the other apps that we use?
Snapchat.
Yes.
That was
you like that one.
I did for a while because before Instagram created the stories, Snapchat had that, right? So that's what they based, or that's their foundation. So I think that I like the fact that there was a lot of just 24-hour stories, quick. Nothing that you really had to think about. It didn't really have to be creative. It was just the moment, right?
Yeah.
And so I think for like the beginning, I used Snapchat a lot because of that reason.
I started using it with that same thought in mind and being able to kind of force myself to share my story because I'm a little reluctant on some of that stuff and call it age or whatever. But the bottom line is like, I know that is an important element on the marketing side, but it's just one of those things of like, do I really want to do that? I've always had that debate in my head. So I do agree with you. Snapchat's got some cool features in there.
The face.
Yeah, the little filters and stuff. Yeah, have fun with it. What about Meerkat?
The heck is that?
Periscope?
I downloaded Periscope. Same thing with like TikTok. And right off the bat, I was just like,
Yeah. Just read an article last night and doing the research on this. TikTok's supposedly on the way out already.
Hopefully. Oh, man. I know I'm going to offend a lot of people by that comment. What about Pinterest? Like, is that more something that you... is that you would consider that social media?
Technically, it is.
Okay.
But it's more of like a social engine of
like a search
boards.
engine.
Yeah, search engine of like collections. How would you define that? Yeah, like a search engine of collections, and then they're just trying to point to your interests. It's kind of neat.
It is. I found some use for it.
Yeah.
Interestingly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we had the conversation a while back with your friend, and definitely learned a lot. Still haven't bothered using it, and I don't think I'll sit down and have the time to go through and collect a board. But I think it's a cool tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I use it for? A lot of times, clients will be like, sometimes they don't have the vision of a home, right? Mm-hmm. So they'll say, well, this kitchen is too dated. I'm not really sure what we could do here. And so I'll quickly, put in modern kitchen. and then it'll give me some ideas, and I'd be like, here, this is something that you could do. Like it fits perfectly in this space. And so it kind of gives them that visual of what they could make happen. So that's what I use it a lot for is ideas.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I know my wife is like, she's and all over that as far as Pinterest goes, and it's been years. She keeps telling me, use your Pinterest. I'm like, I'll just use yours, but
yeah. And then LinkedIn, that's the only one that it's like a business professional.
So Facebook, LinkedIn were about the same time for me. 'Cause I had a professional page in there.
I don't remember when I got LinkedIn, to be honest with you, but I heard that's where you could maybe get a job from or post your resume. And so that was kind of neat.
No, I really like LinkedIn. I think it's still a valuable tool. Microsoft's done really good now as far as keeping it relevant and functional. Definitely a professional environment.
I think I just got to learn to use it a little more.
Well, I mean, I spent 8-9 years in the corporate environment, and so crossing paths and with industry leaders, being able to get to know them or even work with them, it allows you that space to be with them in a professional setting, and you don't have to get on the personal side and cross paths on that arena. And so it allows you to have that distinction, which is really nice, I think. And I know there's more use in that area that we probably should open up.
Yeah.
So the plethora of options are out there in the face of this experience that we've all had here in 2020 is a lot of home time or alone time. And whether it's a good thing or a bad thing or whatever the situation is, at the bottom line, at the end of the day, there has been clearly an increase in use of a variety of different apps that are there to occupy our mind. So some of the research that we found this past year is what have people been doing since April and March, right? Social networks jumped up over 82%, and basically staying in the 80s all the way through the summer as far as usage goes. People found time to get off of the devices and distract themselves with other things like Netflix, Hulu, and getting themselves busy with projects and other stuff. So while there has been a significant increase, research has shown that there's been a lot of other things people have been doing, which is kind of cool.
I think when quarantine hit, bike shops were maxed out, sold out.
Dude, offer up. It's not a social network, but it's an app, right?
Yeah.
And this summer I used that a lot, and you're right. Try to find a bike in May. It was impossible. And they were selling cheap bikes for crazy money just because people wanted to have a bike.
Yeah, because that was one of the few things that you could actually go do for free, other than just walk around and run. But yeah, and that was that or hiking. It was I know a lot of people went hiking, but so those are the healthy
choices.
Choices. But then we get into social media and its negative effects. Forbes wrote an article on that.
So the New York Times had one that says that social media usage is way up. The majority of respondents agreed that their social media consumption, about 72%, and the posting of it was 43%. They increased during the pandemic. Everybody said that they hadn't decreased their time on any of the platforms. If anything, Instagram represented 44% of the use. That platform is also where many people increased their consumption, as much as 70% increase in usage in devices. I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I've had to force myself. So what is you felt an increase in the use?
Yeah, definitely. And especially because my iPhone, I have it set to give me a summary of my usage at the end of the week. So on Sundays, and, I'd get the little report and it'd tell me what app I was using more, and it was always Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp.
Okay.
Oh, WhatsApp.
Okay, so that's more of a messaging communication, but
it is, but you have that story feature, kind of like Instagram and Facebook and and
It has a
Snapchat.
story feature. No, just kidding.
Come on, you're the WhatsApp expert.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as the usage goes, device health, being able to give yourself that mirror of consumption, use, and function, that is a fantastic tool. If you don't know what we're talking about, it's in the settings of almost every device. You can have your device track what you are doing, and then send you a report with your activity at the end of the week, and it'll give you your ratios for all of your tools that you use. And so things like Spotify music or searching the internet, using an actual app like Facebook and WhatsApp, it'll show you how much of that time was used in each one. Excellent tool. Totally recommend it. I have it as a widget on the device here. You guys now have widgets.
Yes, we have widgets.
Is that a widget that you can put on your screen?
I think so. Honestly, widgets for... I haven't seen really a major need for these widgets. Maybe because the widgets that are available aren't the ones that I would like it to have. But
that is a critical part of this conversation.
We'll deviate from this, but my weather app is really the biggest widget that I use. And then the next one is going to be my batteries, and I have a smart one where it tells me based on my routine a day, it'll tell me what I should be using. Is there? Yeah, there is. There's a big widget that tells me.
Just for kicks, can you just select that?
Yeah.
And what does it look like when it's on the screen?
So,
and then can you modify the size?
Oh, the widget?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Experiments for Jared.
So see, this is how device consumption gets distracted. You know, it's a perfect example.
I don't even know where it's at now.
Again, another perfect example.
Give me like 10 minutes, guys.
And that, my friends, is how it's used.
So you can do the small, the medium, or like the full.
And those are fixed sizes?
Yeah.
So add it, and you can't modify the shape of it.
No.
You know, you just pick which one and then you go from there. Yeah. Hashtag Apple issues, but...
Anyways.
Man.
Perfection is perfection. You just can't mess with perfection.
Yeah, you'll get there someday. So it's back to the social media.
Sorry, guys. Our phones got in the way.
And I'm the married one. This guy's single, by the way. Well, no, he's dating. Sorry, my bad. He is taken. TikTok.
Actually, she doesn't hear this.
Let's jump to TikTok while we're on that subject. So, as far as apps go, occupying your time, that's obviously one element of it. The whole subject of safety inside of those apps, most of them require a user to be 13 or older in order to subscribe for that. Mm-hmm. So, your youngster in the family technically shouldn't have any one of those accounts based on those agreements. Why? You don't have a kid.
I don't have a kid, so
What would be your perspective?
Probably like their safety, communicating with somebody that is saying that they're or that is pretending to be someone else, so somebody younger. Mm-hmm. So probably that risk, or also I know there's like pedophiles that take pleasure of just seeing kids. So that was one thing that was brought to my attention a little while ago, and never thought about that because I never have kids, so I don't really have to worry about that. My only kid is a free child, and everybody loves. I was like, you guys can take him.
The fur ball.
Yeah, the fur ball. So, but other than that, I can't really think of
reason why. And that is definitely one of the original reasons why. I believe
is it an agreement thing?
I think it's more of a liability for those companies as to why that 13 is. As far as the safety issue goes, they've done a really good job on being able to control. Provide control and filters, but B, even having the parents have access to the information. So like Facebook does have a messenger for kids, and my boys are limited to the people that they can connect with.
Right.
And I thought, I was reluctant to it at first, but it amazingly it has a lot of controls, kind of like the Nintendo Switch family account or Microsoft family account. I can control what they have access to and allow them to feel like they're on the internet doing their thing and have a kind of a safe playground to work with. So at this point, I see that the technology has improved in order to allow that. But, you still have to, as a parent, be actively involved in what they see, right?
I just want to clarify, is this, because you mentioned TikTok, so is this, you're referring to TikTok itself, or?
TikTok doesn't have that.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so the safety measures and part of the safety component is what you talk about, as far as that option for other people to connect with them, and then whatever the dirty side of all that is, right? But in the world of TikTok, it's just, your profile, and it's all about, exposure at that point. And now you got to go to the subject of, well, who are the owners of these products, right? At least we know most of the apps that we use today are American-based in Silicon Valley. TikTok's the only exception.
Chinese-based.
Right. And the whole question of, do they have a relationship with the Chinese government to A, collect data? Well, that's a whole different subject. But B, what is their intent? What's the purpose? If they do, and if they don't, even if that question exists, is that something that you want to even put at risk?
Yeah.
And most people don't care about that kind of stuff, and they'll just go ahead and freely, share their world and go from there. Which, as a hacker, if you want to go and dive in, there's back doors that you can get into on that stuff. So that is one of the reasons why you have resisted it.
I just don't. I got hopped on there for a few days, and it just, I didn't feel like it was user friendly. I'm being told it's just me.
It is. It's about as chaotic as Facebook.
Facebook has some structure. I felt like TikTok had no structure. They just put everything together and then just hope that you like it.
Interesting.
But this is interesting. So October 2019, TikTok had 27 million visitors, and the average per visitor was almost 306 minutes per visitor.
306
minutes. But March 2020, they got a 93% increase of visitors, 52.2 million visitors, with an average of 476 minutes.
Yeah.
So which is a 10% increase, right? So that's crazy, everybody's flocking to TikTok, but I think it's just more because they made it so easy to become viral.
Yeah, they definitely did.
Yeah. And so I don't know what their algorithm is, but
yeah. So if you were to set up an account on Facebook or Instagram and then go and try and just post and use whatever famous hashtags, you're going to get a couple of people reply back. But the difference on TikTok is that you could do the same thing and plug it into a hashtag, and where in Facebook and Instagram you're getting maybe a half a dozen or a dozen different clicks from people that are following that hashtag. TikTok, boom, like 100. You get 100 people responding just by putting one post.
But I'm thinking, if I don't know if you heard this. I was reading, because I like to read financial stuff, but this is what comes to mind when I think of TikTok is the Kardashians got accused of inflating their numbers on, was it Kylie Jenner's business, because you know how she was a billionaire, but she no longer is. And so they were saying how the reason why is they had inflated their numbers to make it seem like they were grossing more money than they actually were.
Oh, they're pulling a Trump.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, is the same thing? Is their algorithm on TikTok similar to that, where it's just
to make you feel good? Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
That's
so
the sweet candy that they're giving you. Here's your likes.
But is it really real views? Because here's the thing: like YouTube, I know that the little views that we get are actual views.
Right.
It's not just 100,000 of fake views.
Right.
So that's my thought on TikTok. How real are those views?
That's right. No, and that's exactly right. Again, another perspective that you should be considering, but most people don't.
Right. So I think it's instant gratification.
Yeah.
on when it comes to TikTok, and I think that's my biggest.
You want some candy, little boy?
Yeah.
Some candy. I'll give you some likes.
So
while we spend more time on social media, reading about the pandemic can become overwhelming, right? More than half of the respondents are not avoiding their social platforms due to COVID-19 overload. In fact, of everyone that is on the social media, mostly they're avoiding Facebook, followed by Twitter. And almost half says they don't have any preferred platform for getting COVID-19 updates. You know which website got the highest increase in clicks?
which one?
The CDC.
Oh yeah.
And so that does show that people are interested in the right information because they're going to get it from the source.
Right.
And that's actually encouraging because, to get the right information regarding COVID-19 is really important, especially in an election year like this. So it's amazing. So from the negative side, with all of that consumption increase, with all of those distractions, as I call them, what are other ways that we can be conscious of how it impacts our health? I can speak from experience that I have been guilty of falling asleep with phone in hand in bed, reading stories or watching the feed, just flinging through. It's not a healthy thing at all. So one of the things I've had to force myself to do is basically have the do not disturb feature or have the phone disabled during certain hours. I force myself to disable. So if my bedtime is going to be 11 o'clock that night, it goes into that disabled mode, and I force myself to plug it in. And then I literally sometimes have to force myself to just lie there and close my eyes and go to sleep, which is... that's a conscious action I have to do on those things. I'm not proud of it, but it's just what it is.
And you know what? It's funny because, sometimes the influence of others, and I know, and people don't mean it in a bad way. So let me start with that, right? So, give you an example. Like my girlfriend decided to just stop usage of social media. And then people started messaging her, text messaging like, "Hey, did your account get hacked? Are you okay?" Or and that she kind of just was like, to avoid that, I'm just gonna hop back on. Instead of answering.
Now there's pressure
because people question like, why are you getting off? Like people just, okay, your account didn't get hacked, cool.
Yeah.
It was more like, why are you no longer on social media? Like I can't send you memes, And I'm guilty of that because I was like, wait, like how am I gonna send you a meme now? But I'm like, there's other ways, so they don't have to have social media. I have friends that don't have social media, and I still send them stuff from Instagram.
Yeah.
There's copy link, and send it over, right? And as long as it's not a private page, then they can see it.
Yep.
So I think that also has somewhat of a negative effect. So if one of your friends wants to get off on social media,
don't discourage.
Yeah, don't discourage that. Let them.
Yeah.
Don't question it. And sometimes, like I said, we don't mean bad by it. Because you're like, why? Like, are you okay? Sometimes that of not being social has a negative effect. But it's the contrary because there's so many more negative effects of social media than there is, I think, positive, unfortunately.
And so as far as, being aware of your consumption, if you have the urge to just disconnect from the accounts, do it. I mean, there's absolutely the benefit of it. The world has existed without social media. That's fine. And
we can communicate without it.
The difference that our technology has today is that it has been advanced to the point where we can now communicate in various different ways. Before it was, hey, make a phone call or send a actual worded text message.
Letter.
Yeah, a letter, send it through the snail mail. But now, the RCS messaging, Apple has had some fantastic messaging tools for years, and finally, all of the other makers are able to catch up. It's not because of the makers, it's because of the telecom industry. If you needed more research on that, drop me a link, I'll share it with you. But Google's actually had the same technology for years, but the phone providers have basically limited it because they wanted a little dip in that whole process. Bottom line is we can now share GIFs, multimedia messages, and we can now communicate to everybody on some level of equality. If that doesn't work for you in text messages, jump to a messaging service. WhatsApp is the biggest one right now. technically owned by Facebook. If you don't like the security measures that they quote unquote have in there, then the real one you're really looking for is crap, I forgot. Oh, Signal is the name of the app, and that one is totally neutral, same function, same tool.
There was one other one that you mentioned. Telegram.
Yeah, and so those are neutrally owned, meaning that there's no one who has an interest in its growth and usage, and that's why they're not really known. But from a security perspective, if you are concerned about those things, then the first step is getting everybody using it.
Yeah.
But once you have everybody on it, then you don't have any of those challenges to be concerned about. But at the end of the day, being able to be aware of your situation, right? You know, if you feel yourself over consuming and feeling negative as a result of that, be aware of it. You know, I've forced myself to just follow hashtags about, you know, growth mindset, positive influence on people, because what we tell ourselves in our mind, what we allow ourselves to consume, those things impact our perspective, our day. It frames the day as to how we want to be. And if we're watching junk and we're just consumed with negativity, oh Lord, I can talk about people that I can see today that I know personally, that's all they speak is just junk out their mouth. And even their relationships is toxic and destructive, but they're happy. It's not happy. It's just so functional, I guess you can say.
So there's that saying, right? We are what we eat.
Yeah.
But that also, you know, applies to our mental.
That's right.
You know, health or mental consumption. So yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So put yourself in that space. Look at what analyze what it is that you are consuming, and if you have any desire to make those changes, do it, because you have that control by just fixing whatever it is that your interests are. And then you also have the cool features in all of those apps, the ability to block certain conversations. If you don't like that specific user, you can block them, or you can block the type of message. So if it's an advertisement in a specific industry, you can say, I don't want anything about cars.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I look for a car, but I don't want a flood of cars advertisements coming in. So you have those controls, use them, and help yourself.
And here's the other thing that I encourage everyone to do is go in on your list of followers of pages that you follow and audit them. Yeah. I've noticed that what happens to a lot of these pages, sometimes, you know, I'm going through my feed and I'm like, I've never followed, you know, something about makeup or beauty. And what I realized is that once a page gets so big, they sell them. So we can go and buy a follow or a Facebook page that has 100,000 followers, and now it's no longer about that business. Now it's about our business, and so sometimes you end up following people that you don't even want to follow, or things that you don't really have an interest for. Yeah. And especially like if you have 50 followers and 50 people that you're following, that's easy to keep control of who's who. Right. But if you start following, like, I like a lot of car stuff, so I'm like start looking at car stuff and then tech stuff, and then those pages get transferred, and then all of a sudden it's something else. So definitely encourage you to do an audit of your social media and really figure out who you really need to have there, because one of the biggest things that I've noticed is a lot of people like to show off. And then other people that maybe are struggling kind of see that, and it has a negative effect on your mental health, because if you're like working very, very hard and you feel like you're not getting somewhere, and then you see somebody who's posting, whatever they're posting, their Gucci belts or Gucci shoes or whatever, they think that now you feel like maybe you're not working hard enough, or it can be depressing. Yeah. And you don't even know that probably a person put it on a credit card and is maxed out on debt, and it's struggling itself. Right. And you're over here, with a nice big chunk of money in your bank account, but yet you feel like you're struggling, and now you're like depressed. You're getting maybe a little bit jealous. Now you're having these second thoughts, and that all that has negative effects on your mind. Yeah,
and that's absolutely one of probably the most biggest issues that they were concerned about in the beginning. And even now, we've seen the evidence of that on that. So yeah, the feeds are a perspective. It's not necessarily reality, so don't take that for that. One last thing before we wrap it up, in regards to comments, there's trolls. There's people that are out there just designed to be negative, like that is their mission in life for whatever reason. Again, use the power of the block button to dismiss those folks. Don't even get caught up in the conversation. And then the other part of it is that there's others that are like those trolls that are out there, or people that are predators who just are looking for likes or trying to lure you into their page. Especially those sexy sites. You can block them. You can restrict them from commenting. They can comment on your feed, but then you can block them from your account from any future messages. So use that at power to your advantage and help refine your experience on there. Make it a tool that works for you instead of a tool that brings you down. That's really the message at the end of the day.
So if you are trying to build a page, if you're trying to build a business, build a brand, or just itself trying to be a creator based on piggybacking off your comment, avoid or ignore the negative comments.
Yes.
Because I had a really good friend of mine. She became a real estate agent in St. George, Utah, and she was so afraid of Instagram, of creating her own business page. And, I told her, I was like, look, just, who cares what people think? Who cares if people don't like it? Right. You post it, like, I'm going to like it. Your friends are going to like it. And then there's going to be people out there that are going to appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so she started it like 2 years ago. And she started it after we started our Instagram page. And we started building our brand. She's got like 3 times the followers that we have. Yeah. Like, her page is beautiful. I'm going to tag her on her so you guys can go follow her. But she's got a few negative comments, and she came to the realization of, like, you know what? Who cares what people think?
Yeah.
People are always going to have something negative to say.
Yes.
Oh, well,
Like our friend yesterday, Mr. Ego.
Jared made a new best friend yesterday, and yeah.
Anybody that knows me, that phrase has got its own little world.
Maybe we won't talk about that.
I behaved myself.
I told Brandon, our colleague, our team agent, I stepped away from this situation because I knew that I was going to go off, and so I was just like, I don't want to, add fuel to the fire. Let me just step away and just hop in the truck and then just let Jared handle it. Jared has a lot more self-control when it comes to that, and he proved it yesterday. So,
bottom line is, there are some people that are just negative, and they don't have any desire to want to be positive or even reach, some sort of amiable agreement. Hashtag SCOTUS. And so as far as... oh wait, no, it's POTUS. Sorry. POTUS. As far as that goes in the world, in social media, like the phrase goes, "Show me who your friends are, I'll show you who the person is," right? Or the other one is, you are the average of your 5 closest friends, right? So if you want to be in a different tax bracket, or if you want a different income, or if you want to grow in your mindset, you have to be aware of who you surround yourself with, what you surround yourself with. At the end of the day, we all want to be happy. And happiness comes from what we create, or the environment that we create. It goes the same for social media. And so, man, ignore the negative. Ignore it. Just block them. If everybody did that, it'd be a different world, wouldn't it?
And ignore the fluff that's out there too, because nothing is really. Somebody told me a long time ago, perspective is reality. And and it didn't really click with me at that time. I was, I don't know, probably like 20, 21 years old when I was told this, and it took me a few years to kind of really realize, and it's true, perspective is reality. We make it reality based on our perspective. And so sometimes it's not even what it seems to be, it's what we think it is.
Yes.
And that's a huge difference. So sometimes you got to step back and really analyze it and say, maybe that's not how it is. And you know what? For the people that post just to show off, good for you. That makes you happy. Great.
Yeah.
But for the others, if you can't afford it, don't even worry about it.
Try, yeah.
That's not what it's about. Be happy. post you. That's what I like to, because and here's a good example, and a lot of people tell me like, man, real estate's so fun. You guys are always out, having dinner, having lunch, having drinks, or like showing, like seeing, brand new $1 million homes or whatever. And yeah, that's what we post. But they don't, like, if we posted all the hard work, the stress, yesterday's situation, like, it would be a whole different ballgame. People would probably be like, we never want to get in real estate.
It's a lot of times, sometimes it's intimidating. And so to use that same idea, another example that I have, and I've learned actually over the last few years in this business, is perspective is everything, right? If you've got a client and you're in a transaction, and in your mind, you have this idea, in my case, I have this idea that, oh my gosh, I would never pay for all of these repairs. Should I even ask for this? I don't even want to ask for this. It doesn't even feel like it. Like, this makes sense. My client is nitpicking at all of these things, and I don't really want to send it over. Like, that conversation, I have to literally turn off and step back and say, here is the scenario, here is what it is, and I will go to bat for you. And so whatever they've asked me, nitpicking, whatever, I will help them try and get some understanding on that. And sometimes I can help them understand that and make it more fair, or whatever the case may be in that sense. But in some cases, I've got to go and fight for those nitpicking items that I don't necessarily agree for, and I can do that because you have to disconnect. And so the point is that we never know what the answer is. We have an idea, but we don't know until we actually do it. And if we have the right perspective, we can actually get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So that's social media is a great tool. Social media is, you can use it for a lot of good. Like we mentioned, stay in touch with family and friends. We have family in Mexico, so staying in touch with them. We made friends when we went to Italy, so staying in touch with them and seeing they got married this year. During a pandemic. They live in Italy, so they were one of the hardest hit places. But yet they still got married, and so it was nice to be able to see their wedding, because we were supposed to go there, and so it was still nice to see all that. So there's a lot of good use for social media, but then there's also where you can let it affect you, and overtake your life.
As with anything, everything's got its pros
moderation.
and cons.
It's all about moderation. Everything in excess is not good for you.
Yeah.
So, really, just my personal advice to you is just sometimes disconnect. Putting your phone away, like Jared mentioned. That using that D&D function in your phone is just fantastic. iPhones, I don't know if Androids have this, but iPhones have it where you can set a getting ready for bed feature, where it'll actually shut off your phone 15 or 30 minutes before your bedtime.
To prevent you from being distracted.
Yeah, and because how many times doesn't it happen where you're like, I'm just going to check my phone one last time, 2 hours later, you started seeing something about, bunnies, and now you're, how to build a race car. Right. So there's a lot of features. Just explore it, and especially if you have a significant other, I think they would appreciate, quality time where you could actually disconnect from your devices.
Yeah. Now that you mention that, reminds me of a conversation we had 2009, 2010. Like that was a big deal, because what the statistics are, how many times has Facebook come in between a relationship, right? Like how many people have actually lost their marriage as a result of Facebook?
Not as much as Fortnite.
Yeah,
we can talk about that in
different topics for different day.
But at the end of the day, do what's good for what's healthy and what's good for
you have control. You have complete control over how to make that happen. Technology is great. We've advanced so far. It's been so much fun to be able to have this conversation. I was not expecting to be able to talk this much about it, but
we were thinking it was going to be a 15-minute episode.
I was having a hard time struggling 25 minutes worth of content, but here we go. Well, we hope you enjoyed this segment. If you did, definitely drop some comments down below or like the subject. If you think there was information that we had wrong, definitely drop it to us. We'd love to hear it and go from there. Otherwise,
Let us know. Let us know what's your preferred social media network.
Yeah.
What do you do to disconnect from it, if you do anything, and any advice
That you can
that
get.
you can give for others to use.
Yeah. That does it for today's episode. Thank you for joining us.
My name's Isaac, since I didn't mention it at the beginning.
Yeah, that's right. 45 minutes later. And that's today's episode of the Uraine Ordonez 5 Diamond Group podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Click on the like below, subscribe button, hit us on any of the social outlets. Healthily. We will always bring you an encouraging comment if you like it. If you like our post and our page. It's not an exchange. That's just who we are.
That's right. Well,
All right.
we'll catch you on the next one.